Welcome to my channel. Today, I will talk about how nature tests a person and all the fruits of his activity for strength and how a person does not pass this test. This happens for various reasons due to overconfidence, due to negligence, and sometimes simply because the elements go beyond human expectations, but most often because of everything at once. This is how disasters like the bursting of the Banqiao Dam occur on the night of August 8, 1975. You will find out the details of the disaster by watching the video to the end. So, enjoy watching. External factors are often the catalyst for disaster. In such cases, a person turns out to be powerless, despite all their capabilities and advanced technologies. The bursting of the Banqiao Dam in China has claimed thousands of lives and made 11 million people homeless. The disaster became a vivid example of how the designers overestimated their strength and underestimated the elements. The Chinese built the dam for centuries with the active assistance of Soviet consultants. The dam was built on the Jiu River in Henan province in eastern China in 1952. The Chinese authorities assumed that it would protect the area from seasonal floods and generate electricity for local residents. The work began in 1951 and was done conscientiously. Please like this video and subscribe to this new channel and you will see many more interesting and useful things. And as for the ages, this is not just a verbal phrase, but a real calculation. The strength of the dam was calculated with multiple reserves in case of floods and disasters that occur no more than once every 1,000 years. Some mistakes were made during the construction. The dam was built of clay, and after the construction was completed, cracks appeared along the lock. Once again, I had to call in Soviet engineers to show me how to fix everything. Later, the structure was supplemented with steel fortifications. Everything was fixed and dubbed indestructible. The total length of the building was 118 meters, and the height was 24.5 meters. The project had critics. Hydrological engineer Chen Xing, who was involved in the design, initially insisted that 12 locks be built. The authorities regarded this as an attempt to waste the budget and accused him of being conservative. As a result, the specialist was suspended and 5 locks were installed on almost all dams. After 9 years, the hydrologist was returned to help eliminate the revealed problems, and then fired again due to the same criticism. So, on August 8, 1975, a disaster occurred in which 200,000 people died. The Banqiao Dam is associated with the most terrible nightmare associated with dams: floods and human lives. In 1975, there was a flood, the equal of which even the old-timers do not remember. No wonder, because it was the largest not in 1,000, but in 2,000 years. Old-timers don't live that long, and no engineers have even put such loads into projects. After Typhoon Nina came to the region, a record rainfall of 1,631 millimeters per day was recorded. It should be noted that the Banqiao Dam system was part of an even larger network of dams covering a vast area of China. The Shimantan Dam was the first to succumb to the water pressure, and the accident occurred at 1:30 on the night of August 8. Half an hour later, the rising flood of water reached the network of dams in Banqiao, and they were unable to put up the slightest resistance. And the most modern and massive Banqiao Dam could not cope with the load. A total of 62 levees collapsed like dominoes that night. The starting point of the disaster can be considered July 30, 1975, when Super Typhoon Nina hit China. It raged until August 6, but even after the typhoon weekend, heavy rains poured onto the land and flooding began. On August 6, record rainfall forced the management of the Banqiao Dam to think about starting to drain excess water through the spillways. A corresponding request was sent to a higher authority, but a positive decision could not be reached. The thing is that there was already flooding downstream, and the discharge of water from the Banqiao threatened flooding. On August 7, in the morning, a message was sent to the management of the dam about the permission to open the spillways, but it did not reach the addressee. The reason for this was the destruction of communication lines. On August 7, 1930, the first crack formed in the dam. The management of the dam did not know about the permission to open the spillways, so this decision was made independently at their own risk. However, it was too late. The spillways were silted up, and they stopped performing their functions. It was at this point that the shortage of floodgates affected. In addition, the existing 5 gates were partially clogged with silt during operation. On August 8, at 0:20 a.m., the commander of a nearby military unit made the only correct decision in the situation to launch an airstrike on the dam and prevent further accumulation of water in the reservoir. A request was sent to a higher authority to coordinate the strike. At 0:30 a.m., Unable to withstand the pressure, the Shimantan Dam located upstream collapsed, and water gushed downstream. Interestingly, this dam was designed for floods that occur no more than once every 500 years, but its design proved to be quite durable and withstood more than 2 times the water level. At 1 o'clock a.m., a wave from the Shimantan Dam reached the Banqiao Dam, spilled over its crest, and in a few seconds destroyed it. As a result of the dam breach, a wave up to 7 meters high was formed, which moved downstream at a speed of 50–55 km per hour. There is a flat area behind the Banqiao Dam, so the wave spread to a width of up to 10, and in some places up to 15 km. 7 district centers and countless villages were flooded. In the settlements that received evacuation orders in a timely manner, losses were relatively low. For example, 827 out of 6,000 people died in the village of Shahidian, located immediately under the dam. In the village of Wenchang, located near Shahidian, but not warned in time, half of the 36,000 population died, and the village of Dawanqing was washed off the face of the earth with all 9,600 inhabitants. In about an hour, the wave, crushing houses, roads and communications in its path, killing people and livestock, traveled almost 55 kilometers, completely flooding the plain and destroying many more dams along the way, which were supposed to protect from flooding. Those who survived that night saw in the morning a devastated region covered with a layer of silt and mud, with lakes appearing out of nowhere, and ruins of houses. Many provinces were flooded, and, most unfortunately, not only civilians were killed, but also specialists from those services who could help them. Only a few particularly lucky settlements have survived. They managed to evacuate before the arrival of heavy water. As a result of the dam breach, an area up to 55 kilometers from the dam and up to 15 kilometers wide was completely flooded. The water moved downstream of the Zhu River, destroying 60 more dams along the way, and as a result, 62 dams were breached in just a few hours. Banqiao was the largest of them. So, according to the domino effect, the tsunami force was transmitted further, due to which the wave significantly increased. The wave destroyed many settlements. Many villages were literally wiped off the face of the earth, along with all the inhabitants. Enormous damage was caused to communications and communication routes, which caused disorganization and created serious difficulties in providing assistance to the affected areas. The lack of roads made it difficult to bring food, and in many flooded regions, 1.5 to 2 weeks after the disaster, assistance was provided only from airplanes and helicopters. The largest railways and highways in the region were inactive for 2 to 3 weeks after the flood, and small roads remained unpaved for months. Due to the flooding, there was no transport, medicine, sewage, food, or qualified assistance in the region for several weeks. Food warehouses were destroyed and famine began, followed by epidemics, which became the main cause of death in the period following the flood. As a result, according to various estimates, the total number of victims ranges from 171 to 230,000 during the first hour after the dam burst. The water claimed the lives of 26,000 people. This number of victims is due to the time of the disaster at 1 or 2 in the morning. People were sleeping peacefully in their homes, and the fact that residents simply were not warned about the possible danger due to the breakdown of communications. Interestingly, many people were literally washed out of their villages and towns, but remained alive and returned to their homes over the following days and weeks. The wave washed away about 300,000 head of livestock and also flooded vast areas of agricultural land. This caused enormous damage to the region's economy. Information about the victims has been classified for 30 years. 5,960,000 houses were destroyed, and 11 million people were injured in one way or another. For a long time after the disaster, Banqiao and other destroyed dams on the Zhu River reminded of themselves with crests rising on the banks. However, there could have been much more casualties and destruction if the Chinese authorities had not thought in time to send planes to bomb some of the surviving dams at designated points so that the water would flow in the necessary direction and bypass the settlements that had escaped the sad fate. The restoration work did not begin soon. Rebuilding the ruins proved to be an almost impossible task for Communist China. It wasn't until 1993 that all the dams were repaired, including the notorious Banqiao Dam, from which this story takes its name.